What should we stop teaching young children? That adults are infallible. My wife and I freely admit to our kid if we've done something wrong or we're mistaken, and try to teach him to behave the same. He's only 4, so it's hard because he's still learning even the concept of fallibility, but I'm pretty sure it's helping. That asking questions is annoying or unacceptable. I don't know, let's find out together, is the most engaging possible answer you can give a curious child. Look, intellectually I'm with you 100%. And I sort of enjoy talking through who would win if Wolverine and Deadpool fight. But about an hour later of the same subject or some variant of it, I'm just saying. Yeah, it's not that asking questions is annoying. It's that asking what my favorite character from Lion King is 10 times in a row, 10 days in a row is annoying. I'm more than happy to explain how things work. I'm actually proud of myself for having answers for a lot of things. But goddamn, my favorite character hasn't changed since 5 minutes ago. To be ashamed when they're wrong. People should be thrilled to learn they're wrong because it's an opportunity to learn. Instead we shame politicians who flip-flop on issues even if they switch their opinions from something like man-woman marriage to a stance of gay rights support. Then we wonder why people straight up deny they're wrong even when you pile a mountain of evidence in front of their dumb faces. Unhealthy relationships with food. Noticing how our relationship with food is covertly communicated to our children. Labeling food as purely good or bad. Forcing children to eat something they don't want to. Sending the message that vegetables are gross and are only to be enjoyed through bribery. Obviously excluding the instances in which children just don't eat. Forcing children to ignore their own body telling them that they've had enough food by making them finish the large player of food that you gave them. My grown-ass husband still has issues with food and overeating because his daycare lady was a clean plate loony that would slap them and yell at them if the kids didn't finish their plate. If you're bad, I'll have the doctor give you a shot. If you don't stop misbehaving, the cops will come arrest you. As someone who gives kids vaccinations, I hate when parents do this. I feel bad enough knowing it's a bit of pain and scary. I don't want to be made into a bad guy. Unamused face. It's too important to make into a threat. They have to keep eating even when they're full. This isn't about picky eaters or whatever, this is about schools forcing kids to eat all of their lunch despite not physically being able to. It's not a healthy mindset. This can cause overeating and then being overweight and can lead to eating disorders. My mother enforced this when we were kids. She would pile our plates ridiculously high for kids, then demand we eat it, and we'd have to sit at the table until it was done or we'd have it cold for breakfast the next day. I became overweight and my sister suffered from anorexia and bulimia from this. We still have problems with eating correctly and weight. I think this is one of the reasons we have an obesity issue in America. I think it's a leftover thing from the Depression. That they shouldn't ask questions and that adults are always right. I remember growing up and being taught that an adult's words were the truth, and life was so much easier when I discovered that a grown-up was just as capable of being full of shit as a child was. Be respectful, but don't blindly accept what's handed to you. Man, the shittiest part of this is growing up and realizing that your parents, the people you looked up to all your life, are morons as well. Ironically, I have parents who have usually been very good role models and caretakers, so to realize it much later in life hurts much more. I don't think that they're morons, but I've only recently realized they don't always know what's best for me even if they want the best for me. You should never hate anyone in your family. If a certain family member did you wrong, never repented, never apologized, never tried to make things right, would gladly fuck you over again and has done so on multiple occasions, you should be free to detest him as much as you like. But no, because we are blood related, that somehow completely erases what he's done. That the teacher will handle any bullies. An older kid is bullying me. Okay, who is it? A guy, about 2 years older than me, short, black hair, about this tall. Yes, but who is it? I just gave you a description of him. Yes, but I need to know his name. How am I supposed to know his name? He's older than me, so he's clearly not in any of my classes. Well, why don't you ask him? Because I'll already be on the ground by that point. Still hate that woman all these years later. Saying that, I've heard much worse stories than that one. I'm a thin guy, to the point where they called me all sorts of names for it as a kid. The school bully was 2 years older kid, who looked like a side-scrolling arcade fighter game first-level boss, bulky and short-tempered. He beat up us nerds, typically starting to push and call us names, and if we did anything, absolutely anything, he'd beat up the victim, blaming them for starting it. Eventually we collectively tried to get our class teacher to do something about it, but her idea was to just ignore him. He'll get bored and will go away if you don't interact with him. Another teacher told to tell him, no, he wouldn't bully if you made it clear it wasn't a fun game to you. It really grinds my gears as an adult to think back how fucking utterly useless the teachers were. The bully was also in the principal's unofficial protection as he was going to be the next NHL star or something. Back then a lot of Swedish ice hockey players got into NHL and the principal was probably dreaming of telling everyone how he had mentored a NHL star. Relevant advice for kids in 2019. Call the cops, that will change things up quick. That children should always do what they're told. If they're uncomfortable, or scared, or truly believe what they're being asked to do is wrong, they should be taught it's okay to stick up for themselves. I completely agree, but I also think there's a point where that goes too far the other way, like children who don't listen and talk back to everybody. From my teaching experience, that often comes from kids who don't trust the adults in their lives, though, not the kids who have trustworthy adults in their lives but are taught that they, too, are trustworthy. Children's therapist. You're right. Lying is about protecting ourselves. Liars are people who are punished for telling the truth. Don't take no for answer. Actually, this can have severe consequences down the road. Conversely, don't tell little girls that girls are supposed to play hard to get. It just further fosters the idea, in both genders, that a no doesn't really mean a no. How about we teach kids to be open and honest about their feelings and respect others? That ugly equals bad, evil. I partially blame TV animation for this one though. Old, ugly, fat or serious-looking people are almost always the villains. This often makes kids fear elderly people and make unfair connections between appearance and personality. And it's not just kids' animation. I see this shit everywhere. The Lord of the Rings films scale almost perfectly the attractiveness of each character to the inherent goodness and importance of every character. Just ignore them and they will stop. Sometimes that's the answer. Sometimes it's disastrous. The real answer is don't give the bully what they want, so what to do depends on what the bully is trying to get out of you. If the bully is trying to get a reaction, or make you visibly feel hurt so that they can feel like they have emotional power over you, then ignoring them can deny them that and could work. If they're trying to feel powerful by creating a situation where they're dominant and you're submissive, or where they get to toy with you with impunity, then being passive instead of fighting back would worsen it. In general, don't reward behavior you want less of. So that means understanding what the bully considers a reward. It works in the adult world, because it's actually possible to avoid someone who you have issues with. This option often isn't actually available to children. And if you try to ignore them, they'll just keep ratcheting up the intensity of their behavior until they find your breaking point. We should stop comparing them to other children, which is basically telling them they're not good enough. When they compare you to other kids, but when you compare yourself to other kids they say, but I don't care about them, I care about you. Why'd you bring them up then? That genitals are rude and we shouldn't speak about them. They are private but they aren't rude. We need to teach children correct names for body parts including genitals. On average, a child discloses sexual abuse 5 times before action is taken. It's very easy to hear, "He touched my flower," and not think too much into it. Also, getting children to be able to verbalize feeling uncomfortable and learning how they feel when they are uncomfortable can be beneficial in stopping grooming in its tracks. Groomers often start with lingering touches that can be easily explained away, but if the child can articulate how the touch made them feel, it can help adults to protect children. I worked in a child daycare center and a coworker told on me to a supervisor for saying the word penis around some kids. Luckily the supervisor agreed with me that penis is not a dirty word. Penis is the anatomically correct name for your magnum dong. Making little kids kiss for a cute picture. Along the same lines, telling preschoolers that so-and-so is their boyfriend, girlfriend. Can't they just enjoy the single life at least till they can spell their own name? I abhor this. I've had a few people project adult relationships onto my kid when she was 2 and her little 2-year-old boy acquaintances, and I lost my shit. I can't even articulate the damage that projecting socially romantic roles onto little girls does to them. And I have to watch as it happens to my niece. To mock off brand or value items that others may use or wear. Edit, for people that keep commenting that this isn't a thing. Just read the comments LMAO. There's tons of people who have experienced this. For those saying no one would teach their kids this, the whole reason I'm posting this is because I have seen my own family, and friends' family do this. It isn't okay. Telling them not to cry. Or to man up. It does more harm than good. Stranger danger. We need to let them know that it's not just strangers that can hurt them. And there may be times when they need a stranger's help. They need to know that if we get separated at the zoo or mall that they can rely on strangers to help them find me. We discuss how to tell who works wherever we are, lifeguards at the pool, employees at the mall, etc., uniforms, name tags, and how to get help. Most people in the world are good. I don't want them terrified that every person there is some boogeyman. That they're at school to study, not make friends. Friendships are important at any stage of life, and you will definitely benefit from having connections in adulthood. One of the reasons kids didn't like me at school. My parents always expected me to be the best, saying that studying is my only responsibility now. Today, nobody cares about my grades from 10 years ago. That college is necessary for success. It's not required, it could be depending on what career they want. And I know not every school does this, but since I was little I was told that the more school you get the more money you're worth. Flattery will get you nowhere. In the real world it usually helps get you places, so go ahead and let little kids learn that sucking up works. Good things happen to good people, bad things happen to bad people, life is fair. My philosophy professor first day says karma isn't real. Right now a human trafficker or drug dealer just bought a BMW i8 and a Girl Scout just got hit by a car. I was like, well damn. As I've matured, I've come to realize that while the world isn't fair, teaching kids that it is creates a lifetime expectation of justice, which causes people to strive for it. So no, we shouldn't stop teaching kids that. That if a boy hits a girl, or if a girl hits a boy, that means they like the other gender. Abuse should not be loved. If I see a guy the first think is hot, should I throw a rock? Only if you put a post-it note saying you find him attractive on the rock, and make sure not to hit him. We should stop teaching kids that cereal is part of a balanced breakfast. Right. I can enjoy my cereal anytime I damn well want to.